Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is the moment for some of you have been waiting for. How did my F-150 turn out with the Superduty axle on it? Well, I'm going to tell you all about how it all turned out. As you can see, stance is pretty good so far, but I'm going to break it down one by one, all the parts that I've got and what I think about it. Since I've had it on there for about a month now, I've driven probably around 700 to 1,000 miles on it so far. So I want to let you guys in on some insider and how it's all going for me. So first things first, I want to say thank you to everyone who has encouraged this build. I want to say thank you to Blowing Diesel once again. That guy's the man. All right, go hit up Joel for all your Superduty build parts. He's making buckets now, which I didn't get. I missed out on that, but maybe down the road I'll get some buckets. But buckets, track bar brackets, sway bar brackets, whatever you need for the Superduty build, he's got it, he's making it, and he's put it on his own truck. He's sending them out now. He's cheaper than everyone else, and it's quality parts. He's not here to rip you off. He's just here to help you get this Superduty axle finished as well. So now that I've had this thing for a month on the road with the Superduty build, or the Superduty front end, I'll have to tell you, it's a thumbs up from me. I've had, like I said, 700 to 1,000 miles, and this thing, there's a world of difference. It rides a lot better. I've still got to do some stuff to it as far as shocks and coil springs. I think I'm going to knock down to the 5.4 coil springs. I got a really good deal on some F-350 springs, like really cheap. So I just stuck them on here to see how it all look and how it all rides. It's not like it takes more than 5 minutes to change those things out. So I stuck F-350 springs on here. They're a little more than what I want, but it still rides better than what I had, which was the twin I-beam setup. And after I lifted the twin I-beam setup, it was just a big no from me. So if you didn't know this by now, I have a Ford F-150 brick nose. It's got the 5.0 liter in it, so the 302. It's a V8 engine, and I've put this solid axle swap on here, and it's the coil swap. As you can tell. Actually, you can't tell. Anyway, it's the coil swap. So, as far as that all goes, it rides great. It drives pretty well. I haven't really noticed much of a dragging difference now that there's probably like 200-300 more pounds on the front end. So, that was one thing I was really concerned about with the smaller motor, was how much drag is this going to put on my truck? And is it still going to be able to tow this during the summer? Well, I've towed that with the truck, and this thing bullies my boat. With the twin I-beam, that front end did not bully my boat. The boat bullied the front end of this truck. If you're still looking to tow up to 3,000-4,000 pounds with the 5.0 302, the Superduty front end swap is a thumbs up. Why? Because the heaviness of this front end, there's a lot more control in the front end whenever you're slowing down, really just doing anything. And like I said, when you lift these things up with the twin I-beam setups, these tires do whatever they want. It's almost impossible to realign. And you have to not only you have the kit for the rough country kit when you lift it, but you have to make up your own things just to get this thing to drive straight down the road. And I don't think you should have to do that. Now, if you keep the lift low with the rough country 4-inch kit, that's fine. I think it rides pretty well, but I can't keep anything stock, and neither can you. And that's why you're watching this video. So, number one, it rides great. Number two, it tows great. And number three, it looks great. I drove this thing to work a couple of times in the past week. I've driven it up and down our main little highway. And I've had messages from people that say, hey, did I just pass you on this road? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, the truck looks awesome. And to put all the work in that I have so far and to hear those kind of compliments, it's pretty cool. It's, showing that your hard work's paying off. And the truck's finally coming around, which is something I've dreamed about since I was 15, 16 years old. If you could see this truck before, when I started, this thing's huge. I know it doesn't look very big right now. It's probably because the perception or depth perception that I'm giving off, but it's big. I mean, whenever I first had this truck, it was up to here and I could look over the top of it. And now, that's not the case. And I love it. I absolutely love sitting up this high going down the road. So let me get down here and show you what's going on. So here's the axle, okay? You got a slight little angle because I used the stock F-250 bracket from the Super Duties, or that's an OEM coil bucket pretty much. So it's sucked up right against the frame. Because the frames on the Super Duty are a little bit wider than the ones on the OBS. Okay? Here, right here, you have that Super Duty track bar. That came from blowingdiesel.com. If you're going to do this Super Duty build, you need to go get that. Okay? I'll show you some of the cool hacks and tricks that he's done with this. Okay? So here's the whole axle. As you can see, it's spray painted. Along with the whole truck. But anyway, it's a very clean little looking axle. And I've got one little steering stabilizer up there. And that's it. So just alone with that steering stabilizer, I rigged that up. And that's right off the main arm. And as far as control, big difference. Okay, when I had nothing on there, and then I tacked that on there, and that made a huge difference. Now I'm looking to get the double stabilizer that they have for these axles that goes on the front. I've talked to a lot of people. They say that it's definitely worth getting, so that's next on the list. I really think that's going to be, icing on the cake when it comes to overall control on this truck. But when it comes to the steering on this truck as well, I still use my stock F-150 steering box. Your stock F-150 steering box will handle this Super Duty axle. I've even got the drop pitman arm on it right now. You probably should put the stock pitman arm back on if you've lifted your truck, but just know that the drop does work. I'm going to get into the side of the truck and I'm going to show you what's going on. First things first, radius arms. I'm still running the stock radius arm off the Super Duty. I think it looks good. I think it's a clean look on this single cab truck, and I think it's going to stay. I don't really have any complaints. I thought about getting a different setup up there, but I really like what's going on. Let's move to the tire. 35-inch tire, 20 by 12-inch, rim setup. So that's my wheel combo. 35s, 20 by 12 rim. As far as the shock goes, I still have the Rough Country 4 to 6-inch lifting shock. I probably should get rid of that because that might help with my ride. I've got the stock F-350 coil right there, okay? And then a 2.5-inch spacer block. This is what it all looks like. Bluetooth drive shaft. So when it came to this, I used the OEM bucket, which sucks right up against the frame. I like it. I think it's a good look. I'm personally not a fan of the aftermarket coil buckets they got going on right now. So what I have here is going to do, and I really enjoy it. I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks clean. Right down here, we got the track bar. It does fit your F-150. You might have to do a little bit of grinding, but if you're going to do this build, you're going to be doing some grinding anyway, so keep it out. And you might need to do a little shaping, but other than that, you're going to poke your holes, and that thing's going to bolt right up. Like I said, blowingdiesel.com sells these for like $100 cheaper than everyone else. So go pick that up. It's a lifesaver. So let's get to one thing that I didn't change. The rear axle. The rear axle is a stock axle. It's still the 5 lug. So what I did is I got a 5x5.5 adapter that adapts into a 8x170. Okay? I put 3 inches on the rear, 0 on the front. 3 inches on the rear, 0 on the front. And it'll give you exactly what you need. Okay? Here's what we got going on here. Very even. Okay? So, I didn't change that axle out. I didn't want to do all the work with cutting the drive shaft and lasering my blocks off to fit it on the leaf springs. I didn't want to go that road, so I didn't. But I just want you guys to know that it turned out really well. I love my gear ratio on the back, so that's why I also didn't change anything back there. To level this thing out and make it look good, you're gonna want 3-inch block spacers on the rear. At least I think. I might have, no, I think I'm stock for the most part, as far as leaf springs go. But you're gonna wanna put a 3-inch spacer down there. Ew, rust. 3-inch spacer block right there. That put this truck right at the right height. I think it's like a tad bit higher in the front, but it makes it look level, not tooted, but level. So that's the stance that you get. Sorry that's in the way, but it's a good look. So that's all I really have for this build. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I will answer as many questions as possible. Like I said, I've got the 302 in here. I Super Duty swapped it. It's not too much. It's not too hard. Like, I'm not any mechanic by any means, and I did it by myself right here on the floor of this shop. Okay, so you can do it too. Get a couple buddies together and you got all the right parts. You're talking like maybe a night. You could do it in a night. Okay, it took me two to 3 days because I didn't have full days, and I also didn't really know what I was doing. So I kind of just step by step YouTube, see what was going on, and this is what I came out with. So you can do it too, and this is what it could look like. Don't be afraid to step into this. It looks good. I've got a lot of compliments, and I'm super